Welcome to Spainguru. We are excited to have Sofía Mejail, an expert immigration lawyer from CABR Relocation Solutions for Expats. Today, she'll answer top questions about the Spanish Non-Lucrative Visa or NLV and share insider tips on the application process. CABR Relocation Solutions excels in handling the legal aspects of moving to Spain and offers comprehensive services, including health insurance and apartment hunting. Let's dive in. Hi, Sofia. Thank you so much for joining us today.
How are you, Bruno? Thank you for inviting me.
Can you explain what the non-lucrative visa is and who is best suited for?
So the non-lucrative visa is one of the most famous visas to come to live in Spain. Is for people that are not willing to engage in any professional or working activity here in Spain. I would say the main audience of this non-lucrative visa would be people that are willing to retire here in Spain. That's our main audience. But lately, these years, I've been seeing a lot of people that are not thinking of retiring, but they just want to take some sabbatical year or they just want to explore Spain. I think this is a really good option. They come here for a year and then they can switch to another visa or they can renew this visa if they really liked it. So it's a really good way to explore the country as well.
I've seen in Spainguru's community people even in their 20s using this kind of visa. Also, some people, they want to pursue the Spanish citizenship, so this grants them
Yeah.
legal residence in the country, and that counts towards the citizenship.
So there are also many people that are descendants of Latin American people. So it's easier for them to get the citizenship here. And even if you're not, if you spend 5 years here with a non-lucrative visa, you will be eligible for the permanent residency.
What are the financial requirements for obtaining the non-lucrative visa?
So the financial requirements for the non-lucrative visa depend on if you're coming by yourself or you're coming with family. You know that you can bring your family as well. So if you will be applying by yourself, you will have to bring for the first year 28,800 euros, and it will go up as you bring more family with you. In this case, we also have to consider that for the renewal, you will need to double that amount of money. So if you're thinking about staying in Spain long term, you don't only have to think about the first application, but also the renewal that it will be double. So you need to consider that. It's a really important thing, and I see a lot of rejections in some clients that come to us to help them after they get their rejection, because they are proving, it's not like they don't have the money, but they are not proving that they have it in the right ways. So the ideal way for me to prove that would be proving that with a savings bank account. It doesn't matter if it's from Spain or if it's from the US. In that way, it depends on the consulate, but you will need to prove either 3, 6, or 12 months previous to the application. And also there are some other ways, not just a savings bank account, but also you can prove it with pension. If you are retired, you will have a pension from your state, and you will be able to prove that. You'll have to divide what I told you, the amount I told you, the 28,800. You'll have to divide it in 12 months to see like what's the equivalent in the pension that you need to get. Also, you can like add to the application things like credit cards or a couple of other things. There are some things that are not accepted, and I've seen it in several applications, that they are not accepting if you, let's say you have an apartment and you're renting the apartment and you're getting that money from that rent. They're not accepting that, and they're also not accepting investments bank accounts, because like the idea here is that if you need the money while you're in Spain, you can get it as soon as possible. You can get it within 24 hours. And usually these investments bank accounts are not, you can't have all the money in that period of time. So even if you have the money there, you cannot like have it in 24 hours. So that's a problem that I usually see in some rejections of clients that we
For
get.
our US viewers, for example, investment accounts could be like 401k accounts, Roth IRA accounts, and those ones normally you can't get the money right away, right? You have to wait some time. Maybe you have a penalty because of withdrawing the money. Is that what you mean. What are the financial requirements for obtaining the non-lucrative visa?
Yes, that's what I mean. And also, there are some times that these banks are willing to like give a statement that this person can have, let's say, 10% of what they have immediately. But usually I see that they are not willing to give you that document. So what I usually suggest is, okay, let's transfer what we need to a savings bank account that you have, and then submit it that way. We need to see like how many months the consulate's gonna ask. But yeah, I think that's like more likely to get an approval.
Income coming from property rentals could also be problematic. What do you mean by that?
That's because I've seen some rejections. For some clients, it was the consulate of New York and then San Francisco as well, and they were not accepting that because their argument was like that rent could end at any time and you're not gonna like have that money anymore. It's not like a pension that you will have it forever. So that's the
lower quality type of income, according to the civil servant that is looking to.
According to the experience I've got so far, that's it can be problematic. I'm not saying that there might be some cases where they accepted it, but in the cases I've seen, no. So I prefer not to go with that when I get a client.
And related to this, what happens if you have a mortgage?
You're not supposed to have a mortgage to apply for the non-lucrative visa. It's one of the requirements.
It is one of the requirements everywhere in every consulate, or?
As far as I've seen, it is.
So I understand that some consulates are a bit more strict and don't like to see mortgages because in the end, a mortgage is a liability. So if you're applying for the non-lucrative visa at very strict consulates, it is better to not show it. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
But of course, many people have mortgages and many people were successful to apply and get their non-lucrative visa, even if they had mortgages, but there are better ways to do it than others, right?
Yes, there are. Exactly.
Before you mentioned that credit cards could be used to prove funding. Is this correct?
Yes, we sometimes use them, but just like adding to the main one. We tried one time to apply with just credit cards and we got a request for more information. So yeah, we submitted then a savings bank account and then adding the credit cards. And we got the approval like with no problem.
Are applicants required to have health insurance, and what should it cover?
Yes, the applicants are required to have health insurance. It has to have no co-payments, no waiting periods, and repatriation included. Those are the three main ones that they must cover. We work with Adeslas, and Carlos here, my colleague, is an agent from Adeslas. So yeah, we have that. It's like a package that covers everything that they are asking for.
I have worked with Carlos Blanco for many years. I have recommended him for many years. He has stellar reviews. He knows exactly what you need. And it is very important to work with someone who is knowledgeable, because if you're applying for a Spanish visa, you're a specific use case for these health insurance companies. Okay, so you need to work with someone who will actually provide you with the right type of health insurance that complies with all the requirements needed by the consulates to not get any rejections, right?
There are many clients that ask me if they can apply with their US or UK health insurances. I would say it's complicated. They always prefer to see the Spanish one. If they see like some insurance from the US, even if it covers like $1 million, it's complicated. So I prefer for them to go with the Spanish one. The prices are really competitive. Like in general in Spain, they are like cheaper than what they see in the other countries. So yeah, like my advice is to get a Spanish health insurance. Yeah.
I've seen people asking in Spainguru's community, can I use my Signa Global Health Insurance, which is a great health insurance and covers a lot, as you said, like incredible high amounts, even in Spain. but it depends really on the civil servant who is looking at your filing, because
Yes.
I've seen rejections, unfortunately. It's better to use Spanish companies. That's what I always say. If you are a UK retiree, you could potentially, instead of hiring a private health insurance, you could use the S1 form that grants you access to the public healthcare system in Spain. But it takes several months to effectively be covered. So I also recommend having some sort of health insurance. Could be a full coverage health insurance or just a travel health insurance for those months in which you are already in Spain with a non-lucrative visa, but you still have no access to the healthcare system. What are the main reasons applications for the non-lucrative visas are rejected, and how can this be avoided?
The first one, as I was telling you in the one of the questions I already replied, is the economic means. That's the main one, and not just because you don't meet the economic requirements, but because you're not submitting the right documents. That's the main one. But I've also seen rejections from people that had criminal record. That's a complicated one, and that's also some like extra value that we give, because like when you read the requirements, they say that they have to cover 2 years in the countries you've lived for 2 years, but it's not like that. I've seen rejections from clients that came to like change their application because they had crimes committed 20 years ago, and they got a rejection. Yeah,
So
because they were felonies or
it depends how bad those crimes were.
yes, it does depend. It depends if it was a felony, if it was a misdemeanor. If it was a misdemeanor, let's say you were driving under the influence when you were, I don't know, 18 years old, and now you're 45 and applying for a visa, you probably won't have any issues. But if you have something like a felony, like something bigger, it's going to be complicated, even though it was 20 years ago. So in that case, yeah, we have like a special approach of how to submit the application, what documents to submit, what to ask to the court, or what documents to prove that the case was actually closed and everything.
If you have your criminal background check or police check or ACRO in the UK, not squeaky clean, but you have misdemeanors or no live trace, there are procedures to try to clean them up before the application.
We can like submit documents to prove that the case was closed. Like to get it removed from the certificate is complicated and it takes a lot of time, but there are some ways that we can prove, as long as they're crimes that are like minor. But yeah, there are ways. If you have something minor, just don't worry that I'm sure we can find a way to solve it.
Can non-lucrative visa holders later transition to work permit or a different type of visa?
Yes, they can. It depends on what visa. They can switch to a student visa. They can find a job and a company to sponsor them. And yes, they can. The question I'm asking, I've been asked a lot, is if they can apply for a digital nomad visa. That's a complicated one, because in order to get the digital nomad visa, one of the main rules is that you need to have been working for the last 3 months. And in the non-lucrative visa, the main rule is that you cannot work. So if you want to apply for the digital nomad visa, you will be stating that you broke the rule of the non-lucrative visa. So even though there have been some cases, let's say some successful cases, I've talked to my colleagues, mostly they're getting rejections. So I prefer not to work with those cases. I prefer to maybe switch to a work visa and then to a digital nomad visa, but not straight from the non-lucrative visa to the digital nomad visa.
And for example, if you wanted to open your own business in Spain after being a non-lucrative visa holder, is that something that you can do?
Yeah, you can do, as long as you meet all the requirements and you can prove that you want to be self-employed, that you have an investment, that like what your project is and how will it impact on the Spanish economy. Yes, it is possible. Yeah.
How does the application process differ from applicants from countries like the USA or the UK?
So mainly the requirements are the same. like the economic means are almost the same and everything, but there are some consulates that are more strict than others. There are some countries that are more expensive than others. For example, in the UK, you will be paying for a non-lucrative visa around £600, and in the US, maybe $200. So that's one of the differences. Then it also depends on if they are asking for 3, 6, or 12 months of economic means. There are some consulates, such as Chicago or Boston, that are asking for proof of accommodation. Some of them are only asked for an affidavit for the proof of accommodation. So there are like really different things that change.
About the proof of accommodation from those, let's say, stricter consulates, you mentioned Chicago, you mentioned Boston, I think Houston is also one of them. What do you normally suggest your clients to supply when they ask for proof of accommodation? Because it doesn't feel normal that if you still didn't move to Spain, that you have to have a rental contract in advance?
I know. Specifically Boston, like a client I had, Boston was asking for a contract. It had to be like a signed contract. And for example, Houston, the last application I did, it was just an affidavit saying that you were going to be staying in this house, in this apartment, or that a family member was taking you in. But yeah, it's complicated.
What is the procedure if someone's NLV is about to expire and they want to renew it?
So they can renew 60 days before or 90 days after. And the process, what we do is we call our clients maybe 3 or 4 months before the TA expires. And we ask them if they want to work with us. We start gathering all the documents and we submit them online. That's a good thing because you don't need to get an appointment and everything. We do it online for you. And the good thing is that in the renewal, the administrative silence is positive.
So administrative silence means that the administration doesn't say anything about your filing. Basically, time passes. How long does it have to pass to become an administrative silence?
It's like 3 months, but they usually respond way faster than that for a renewal.
How can NLV holders manage their tax obligations while living in Spain under an NLV?
Well, the general rule here is that after 183 days here in Spain, you become a tax resident. So no matter what, if you're renewing your NLV, you will be spending in Spain more than 183 days. Generally, the pension doesn't pay taxes here. That's generally, and it's usually like that. But you will have to declare all the other things, all your other assets and everything, and you will have to pay taxes here. Some people complain that taxes here in Spain are a bit more expensive than in their countries, but the truth is that the cost of living is lower here, so sometimes it's just a balance. There are some agreements with almost all the countries to avoid double taxation. So people don't have to worry, because if they have already paid their taxes in Spain, they are not going to pay again in the US or in the UK.
For example, if you have to pay, let's say, 10 in Spain, and in the US you would have paid 8, you will first pay those 10 in Spain and you get a credit for 10, and then you file taxes in the US, and of course 10 is higher than 8, so you end up not paying taxes in the US.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah. Of course, you need to check if your country has the agreement with Spain, but yeah, mostly they do.
With the UK and the US, there are double taxation agreements.
Yes, there are. Yeah. Yes.
A question about the minimum stay required for the non-lucrative visa renewal. Recently, there was a Supreme Court ruling saying, that a person that wanted to renew that was less than 6 months in Spain actually was rejected the renewal, and Supreme Court said that this person was right, and the office had to renew to this person even if this person was less than 6 months. Is this something that is really being applied?
Yeah, I would say, the rule is that you have to spend in Spain at least 6 months a year. Maybe there are some specific cases that they go to court and everything, but I would say, in order to be on the safe side, to spend the 6 months that they require. I think it's really important to set up your long-term plan here, because if even though the non-lucrative visa requires you to stay for 6 months in the country, if you're willing to get eventually the permanent residency, the requirements are not the same. You're going to have to spend in the country more time than just for the non-lucrative visa. So even though you can keep your non-lucrative visa, you are not going to be able to apply in 5 years to the permanent residency if you have left the country for more than 10 months over those 5 years.
Can no lucrative visa holders invest in property or start a business in Spain?
Yes, you can invest. So the only restriction here is that you cannot like work here or like do any professional activity here, but you can invest. You can even invest in real estate or in debt and public debt here and apply for a golden visa, or you can get like a self-employed or an entrepreneur or some other visa that, but you will have to change from the non-lucrative visa to those other ones.
And of course, comply with the requirements of each of those different residency types that are based on investments, right?
Yes, yes.
How long must one stay in Spain under the non-lucrative visa in order to be able to renew it?
You need to stay for 6 months during the year in order to be able to renew it. Well, it doesn't need to be like 6 months like all together. You can stay here for 2 months, then leave 1 month, and then come back.
Spending more than 6 months in Spain will make you a tax resident in Spain.
Yes, it will make a tax resident. That's why I was saying that no matter what, you will be becoming a tax resident here. Spain belongs to the Schengen area. I don't know if people are familiar with that. It's like not exactly the European Union, but almost every country of the European Union. And between these countries, there's no passport control. So you can also travel freely from one country to another.
Obviously, the rule is you have to stay in Spain for at least 6 months a year.
Yes, yes. And they will see that and they will actually check that in your passport. They're going to see the stamps and see if you actually spend this time here. They can be really strict with that.
What kind of legal support do you recommend for navigating the NLV application process?
I do recommend you to hire some help, some lawyers to help you. It's important that they are lawyers that know what they're doing. There's a lot of misinformation everywhere. And also the lawyers, I mean, we've been working in this for years. So we know what to look beyond what the website says. We know that even if they say they are accepting this, we know that we have to prove this more because that's what they're looking for. We understand the reason why they're asking for these requirements. So it's easier for us to see the loops, to see the problems that the application may have and try to put them somehow different so that they see what they are looking for.
I completely agree. Unfortunately, the consulates, they vary so much between them.
Yeah.
Some consulates have different requirements and every case is different. Having a legal support by someone who has done it, who is experienced in those consulates in particular and know the last events and interpretations, I think it's key.
Yeah, that's why I prefer to for people to start with us and not, I mean, we have a lot of clients that come to us just for appeals because they got rejection applying by themselves. And they weren't like that hard cases. So it was something that if we would have seen it, we would have realized.
What are the applicant's options if an NLV is denied?
They have like 3 different options. One of them is reapplying. The second one is, well, the second and third one is going to appeal. But this, it can be 30 days and you appeal, is called the recurso de reposición. And then you have the other option in 60 days, that is contencioso administrativo. So it's better to do the second option I told you, the recurso de reposición. We can submit it online for you. And the person that makes the decision, it's the same person that that made the decision on the first place. That can sound weird, but that's how it works, and it has been working so far for us. The thing is, we only accept these cases if we see that there's something that actually changed or that's something that we can prove. We're not going to make the same application in an appeal process because it makes no sense. We see if something actually changed. If we say, okay, there wasn't enough money, but now there is money, okay, we submit that. We analyze the case and we see if it's convenient to go through a whole application again or to go through an appeal. And the third option, that is the contencioso administrativo, you have to go to court. It's like more complicated.
How does Spain's cost of living impact the financial requirement calculations for the non-lucrative visa?
You will find that the cost of living in Spain is actually cheaper than the rest of Europe. And usually I don't find it like really expensive. Of course, it depends on the kind of life that you want to live here, but you will find that it's not as expensive as other countries in Europe. Of course, you need to consider that you will be spending money and there will be no money coming in if you don't have like a pension or some investment or something. So in order to think about a renewal, you also have to think that you will spend the money that you had in your bank account originally.
I normally recommend a website called numbeo.com, which is very easy to use. It's a community and people submit the different prices for the different items like rentals, a coffee, a burger in a McDonald's, and so on, so that you can use it to benchmark and do your calculations. And I always suggest that you create a budget for your stay in Spain. So no surprises arise and everything is under control. Do I have to quit my job in order to apply for the non-lucrative visa, or can I work until the visa is granted?
Well, you don't need to quit your job if you're taking a sabbatical year, and we can prove that. But if you're thinking about quitting your job and when to quit your job, we've done sometimes that we've submitted, let's say we were applying in January, and we've submitted a letter that they were working until February. So by the time we got the approval, they wouldn't be working anymore.
What kind of documentations can prove that promise of not be working at the time of approval?
It's usually a letter from your employer and maybe one from you as well, that you're willing, like you see the exchange of letters where they accept that you're taking a sabbatical year. And if you're retiring, maybe if you submitted the documents already or something, that could also work. It depends on the case.
Can non-lucrative visa holders, once in Spain, work remotely for companies outside of Spain?
No, the answer is no. That's a question that I got asked a lot. The option here, if you want to work remotely, is to go through the digital nomad visa route, not the non-lucrative one. There are like a lot of misinformation about that as well. But the answer, like if you see the requirements of the non-lucrative visa, it says that you can work not even remotely, and you sign an affidavit stating that.
So you are based in Madrid. Can you actually support any non-lucrative visa application from there for applicants who are doing their applications in US consulates or in Canada or in the UK?
Oh, yes, we do it all the time. Sometimes they ask because like they are the ones that have to submit the application in the consulate. But we are used to that. We prepare the whole folder here with all the documents. We make sure everything's like they want them to be. And we just send all the documents to them, like in the order that they have to do it. We send them like whole checklist and everything, how they want to see it. And yes, they just go to the consulate either personally, or they just send the application via postal mail. Yes, that's how we can help them. And then once they come here, usually our services include getting the padrón and getting the TIE card. So as soon as they land in Spain, we try to have already the appointments for everything, for the padrón, for the TIE card. We fill in all the forms. Also for the non-lucrative visa, we fill in everything. We give them the tasa or whatever they have to pay. We provide that to them. And we're used, especially for the non-lucrative visa, all our clients are in foreign countries because the idea is to apply from the country of residence that cannot be Spain. So all our clients for those are 100% remote.
I've heard that many consulates or several consulates or BLS offices, for instance, have problems with the appointments. It's not so easy to get appointments at the offices to be able to submit your Spanish visa application. What is going on with this?
Well, it is complicated. That's why when we have the possibilities to submit the application via postal mail, we do it that way, because we know it's complicated. You need to create a user, and then you create your user and you don't find the appointments. That happens a lot. Sometimes I call them, I send them emails to try to find a solution, but we at least in the consulates in the US and in the UK, we were able to get appointments, not like for next week, but yes, for the next couple of months. It is something that's been really problematic, but there are ways to solve it.
One of the requirements is that once you are in Spain, you will need to obtain a fingerprint appointment at the National Police to be able to obtain your TIE card, your plastic residence card. And I heard that getting those appointments can be extremely difficult. Do you help your customers to obtain those appointments?
So I obtain the appointments for them. I try every day at every time, but with the experience, I know, like in Madrid, you should try at this time, this day. Barcelona is different. Alicante, Valencia, that are the most problematic ones. There are some cities such as Malaga that doesn't, like, it's not really problematic to get an appointment, or maybe Seville is not that complicated. But yeah, if you come to Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, it can take a lot of time, but eventually we do it, and we've learned with our experience what time they open. So yeah, it doesn't take that long to get the appointments.
Oh, and one more thing. Apparently YouTube says you're gonna love watching this video right here. I think you should watch it